said I oppose fracking. Show the tape. Put it on your website. Put it on the website.
Live from Clark Studios in Rochester, New York. Broadcasting around the world. You're listening to You Made It Political, where the voice of the keyboard warrior is finally heard and the arguments presented are put to the political test. And now, here's your host, Matt Clark.
When it comes to our Second Amendment right, it very clearly states that we the people have the right to bear arms, to defend ourselves, and more importantly, overtake a tyrant government. And the weapons that I choose to defend myself is no one's business but my own. But lately, the Democrats have seemed to have forgotten why our founding fathers gave us this Second Amendment right. They seem to think that it's actually up to them to tell us what guns we can own and how many. It's not up to them, and it never has been. So why are they constantly coming after our weapons? Why are they constantly trying to pass bills into law that make it harder for American citizens to own these guns? What are they so afraid of? Is this really about safety, or is it all about control? In the past, fortunately, they've never succeeded in taking away our Second Amendment right. And they've tried. If you remember back to the Obama era, he tried relentlessly for 8 straight years. But between the conservatives and the NRA, it was nearly impossible. But times are very different. After all, the left seems to be walking all over us lately, and the right doesn't seem to be doing anything about it. Nothing seems to make any sense anymore. Our Constitution is under attack, and the Dems have already succeeded with taking away our freedom of speech. And now they want our guns. The writing's on the wall, and it's clear that they will not stop until they get their communist way. Today we start our show by discussing a new congressional bill called H.R. 127 that, if passed, will now make it mandatory to register our weapons with the United States government, as well as limit the types of weapons and ammunition that we are allowed to possess. Let's get into the show. So our guns are in jeopardy. Our Second Amendment right is under attack. Once again, it's clear the Dems are back in control. Every time this happens, our constitutional rights are consistently in jeopardy. We saw what they just did with the First Amendment. They silenced the President of the United States. They silenced conservatives. They threw Parler out the window. They won. All backed by the left. We have been silenced. Our First Amendment right has been destroyed. Now they're on to the second. It makes me wonder, how many constitutional rights are the Democrats going to try to wipe out, annihilate, or amend? So here we are, our Second Amendment right is in jeopardy. Let me explain what's going on here. We have a congressional bill called H.R. 127. What this does, it makes licensing of our firearms and ammunition mandatory. So now, under this new bill, we need a license to now own a gun, as if the Second Amendment right isn't enough. Asking for permission to own a gun was never part of the agreement that our founding fathers wrote up for us. But our government seems to have taken it upon themselves to now say, that wasn't good enough. We don't really think that's what they meant. We're going to tell you what they meant. And now we want you to license your weapons with us so we know exactly who owns what, where, when, why, how, so we can track them and come after them should we choose to. So they need us to register our firearms. The bill was introduced by, funny enough, a Texas congresswoman. You wouldn't think that this insanity and the absurdity would actually come out of Texas, gun-loving state that they are, but it's a Democrat, of course. Sheila Jackson has introduced the bill. Surprise, surprise, there are no co-sponsors. I don't know what crazy politician would actually co-sponsor this bill. So as of right now, it's Sheila Jackson on her own, trying to get this bill pushed through. So let's break this down. What exactly does this change as far as owning guns is concerned? Today, I've listed it out and I've broken it all down for you. Again, this is Congressional Bill H.R. 127. So what needs to happen if this bill actually gets passed? Well, the first thing that we're going to have to do is we're now going to need a license to possess firearms and ammunition. The owner of a firearm, if this bill is passed, this is what's required. The owner of a firearm shall transmit to the Bureau, so we need to inform the government, the make, model, and the serial number of the firearm, the identity of the owner of the firearm, the date the firearm was acquired by the owner, and where the firearm is or will be stored. So that's the first thing. We've lost our right to own weapons under our own private circumstances. No longer will we have privacy. When our founding father says you have the right to bear arms, they did not say anywhere in that you have the right to bear arms as long as you tell us exactly how many weapons you own and where they are. So if we want to confiscate them, we know exactly where to come to. That was not part of the deal. But the Democrats want it to be. So now they want to know what we own and where they all are. They also, and we'll go into this further, want to limit exactly what types of guns we own and the ammunition associated to it. So when do you have to register these weapons? Well, once the bill passes, it's on the day of that you purchase the weapon. And anybody who already owns a weapon, once the bill passes, they have 3 months to register all of their weapons. So let's take a look at the licensing requirements. Now that we need a license to own a gun, the first thing that blows my absolute mind here is that you need to be 21 years old. First of all, the age right now in most states is 21. There's a few states, New York, obviously, that it's 21. But there's a lot of states that require the legal age to be 18. And that makes sense to me. Let's think about this for a second. Our young, brave men and women can go off to the military, can go fight in war, which, by the way, they need weapons to do. They can go fight in war to defend the United States of America, but they can't possess a firearm in their own home to defend themselves. How does that make any sense? So they can go off to war at the age of 18, but now under the new bill, in every state, all 50 states, they will need to be 21 years old. They'll have to undergo a psychological evaluation. So now every single one of us, regardless of the fact that we've never had any medical issues, no history, nothing wrong, we will all need to now submit to a psychological evaluation. And we are now going to be at the mercy of whoever decides to throw a label on us. So if we're not having the best day, or a psychiatrist thinks he's a little bit off, whereas in fact, maybe I'm just tired, maybe I slept in, we're now leaving it up to these professionals, these experts, to now tell the government whether I should own a gun or not. I'm all for psychological evaluations if there's an issue in the first place. If something comes up that leads the government to believe that I probably am not mentally stable, then I completely support that. If I have a history of being suicidal, or if I have a history of violence, or if I have a rap sheet a mile long of criminal events that I've used weapons to try to kill people, I can understand. But now you have to be, or you are considered now guilty until proven innocent. And that's essentially what a psychological evaluation does. It's saying, hey, you're guilty right now of being unstable and unfit to own a weapon until this random stranger proves that you're fit. That's where I have a major problem with the situation. So everybody needs to undergo a psychological evaluation now, regardless of the fact that I have a completely clean bill of health. You will now need to go through a successful training course of at least 24-hour training. You need 24 hours of training to now own a weapon if this bill is passed. I have a private pilot's license. I only needed 40 hours to get my license. You now need more than half the hours of a private license or of a private pilot's license to now defend yourself. 24 hours training course. The government knows a lot of people will not do that. And all of these laws or all of these requirements in this new bill is to do exactly that. It's to turn off or deter Americans from actually wanting to own a gun. They are indirectly attacking our Second Amendment right. And it is not up to them to decide how to interpret the Constitution. It's up to them, or it's only up to us, all of us, the American people, to follow it. Nobody asked them to interpret it. We have the right to bear arms. It's that simple. So now they want us to undergo or go through a training course, a 24-hour training course. That's a lot of hours. A lot of people don't have that kind of time. So now you're making people jump over hoops, bend backwards, commit more time that they don't have in the first place to now defend themselves. On issuance of the license, the individual have to have an insurance policy. More money. Why do we need an insurance policy? What sense does that make? Why does anybody care whether I have insurance or not if I buy a weapon? So they're trying to, again, sneak in more requirements here, more deals that are just going to prop up more industries in the economy. It's almost as if the Democrats sit around a table and say, hey, what industries can we give a kickback to that have nothing to do with this bill, just so we can help prop them up with more money? Who's struggling? Who needs a kickback? Okay, yeah, we'll throw you into the bill. It's no different than the pork bill they try to sneak in alongside the coronavirus relief package. It's the same thing. The insurance company has nothing to do with this. Why do I need an insurance policy to own a firearm? It's my own dumb fault if I shoot myself in the ass. It's no one's business. So an insurance policy, to me, just makes no sense. Here's the worst part. You now have to pay an $800 fee to register your weapon. Every single weapon is now going to cost $800. That is criminal. It is criminal. To register my car with the DMV, it was only $40. And my car is about $40,000 more than most guns. $800 fee. They damn well know a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford that. This is a direct violation and a complete slap in the face to our constitutional rights. Not many people can afford $800. So we are now telling the American people that the only people who are going to really have a true right to defend themselves are the wealthy. If you're middle class or poor, sorry, you lose out. The Constitution no longer applies to you. It's absolutely horrible, and it's a complete indirect violation of our rights. They are attacking this amendment indirectly, going through the back door, hoping that we aren't going to notice. But we are noticing, and we are watching, and we better hear a tremendous amount of opposing support from the Republican Party and the conservatives on this one. Because if this bill passes, I'll tell you right now, not only is it going to cause uproar after our freedom of speech has been attacked, but it's going to do exactly the opposite of what the government thinks it's going to do. It's going to be very counterproductive. People are going to hide their guns from the government. People who can't afford to register their weapons are just going to break the law and not tell anybody about it. They're not going to care. Defending my family is more important than telling the government where my gun is. So I'll take that chance. And now we have a system of people who are now not registering their weapons or trying to abide by the law because they've made it financially impossible for us to stick to it. So it's almost counterproductive what they're trying to do here. I'm all for following the laws. I'm all for gun safety, but they are making it hard, nearly impossible, for people to own weapons. Point 7 here, another requirement. it shall be unlawful for a person to sell or give a firearm or ammunition to another person unless the person has notified the Attorney General of the sale or gift. So here they are again. They want to know exactly who has that weapon at all times. And what's worse about this is here in point 9, it shall be unlawful for a person to transfer a firearm or ammunition to a person who is not licensed. And this is where I have a huge problem. This means that I can't, and in a lot of states, you could do this. I can give my friend a gun for him to have at his house so he can defend himself in their own home. In a lot of states, they do allow this. They allow people who aren't licensed or do not have a permit, a carry permit. Doesn't mean they can go walk around town with it. They allow people who don't have a carry permit to still have a weapon in their home if they feel so that they can defend themselves. But now with this new bill, if I'm scared for my life and I feel that I need to have a gun in my house, I can no longer ask somebody to lend me a gun to defend myself in my own home. Whereas before, there are many states that actually allow this. So these requirements are simply too strict. They're too strict. It's not possible for people to own guns in the capacity that they own them now, and they are now indirectly attacking our Second Amendment right. But it gets worse. It gets much worse. We've gone through the requirements of owning a gun and who we can and cannot give it to. Under the new situation, we can't loan it out or give it to anybody. Even if that person has a permit, I still can't loan it to them, which in most states you can as long as they have the permit. Now, before I loan it to that person outside of the home, I have to tell the Attorney General. We have to go register it. So they're tracking the guns, whether it's temporarily or permanently. Point 13 here, it shall be unlawful for any person to possess ammunition that is .50 caliber or greater. Again, I have a huge problem with the government telling me what type of gun I can own and what size caliber ammunition I'm allowed to possess. Because if I want to own a damn rocket launcher to overtake the tyrant government, that's my business. If I want to own a bazooka because I feel that the government is out of control and we now need to go up against them, that is my right. It is not their right to tell me what weapon I'm going to use. God forbid this country gets to that point. Remember, the Second Amendment right gives us the right to bear arms, to defend ourselves, and overtake a tyrant government. And if I want to use a tank to do that, that is nobody's business but my own. So, them telling us what caliber of bullet we can use, again, completely violates the Constitution. It is not up to them to tell us what weapons our founding fathers thought we should be using. So the caliber of weapon is a complete joke, a complete slap in the face. It shall be unlawful for any person to also possess a large capacity ammunition feeding device. They're referring to automatic assault rifles, machine guns. Again, not their decision. And again, where I have a big problem with this is this. If this country ever went to war, it'd be a very sad event, but if it did, why is it fair that the military or certain members of the government would be able to attack the people with assault rifles or automatic weapons, and I'm only allowed to defend myself with a little handgun? So if I'm going to be limited to the type of weapon I can use and the caliber of bullet, then I expect every American, military or not, to have to follow that same set of rules. Because you have to keep the playing field even. That's the only way the American people will ever be able to overtake a tyrant government, is if the playing field is level. You can't give me a little water gun and then tell me to go up against somebody who's got an AR-15. It's not fair. That's not how it works. That's not how the amendment was written or why it was written. So no, they don't have the right to tell us what caliber of bullet to use or what gun to use. I can use anything I want. That's my right. And the last point, which is absolutely disgusting, are the fines involved if you don't follow this law, if it gets passed. Anybody who knowingly violates this section shall be fined not less than $75,000. Where do you know of fines in any crime or most crimes that you have to pay such an outrageous fine? This is them trying to destroy this amendment once and for all. This is them trying to absolutely annihilate our right to bear arms. When you set a fine so high, so insanely high like that, you're sending a message to the American people saying, we are dead serious here. Try it, and we're going to make you pay through the nose. Some homes aren't even worth $75,000, and it goes up to $100,000 in prison sentences of not less than 15 years and up to 25. If this isn't the most communistic law or bill that I've ever seen, then I don't know what is. This is a dictatorship bill. And the likes of Sheila Jackson and every other Democrat need to seriously reconsider this, because I'd like to see you try and go to some of these conservatives' homes and take their guns for not registering it. There will be an absolute uproar. So now that we've gone over how insane this is, let's listen to Sheila Jackson talk a little bit about why she thinks we don't need an AR-15 to defend ourselves. We're having a little bit of a tech issue, so we'll have to come to that. We'll come back to that. Well, we'll try to play it one more time for you guys. Let's see if we can get this thing to play. If not, we'll have to come back to it. We'll head over to Grant Stinchfield over at Newmax. We got the video there as well for him to play. Let's have a listen to what Grant has to say about the insanity of Sheila Jackson's new bill, H.R. 127, here on the Newsmax feed.
They don't accept it either as a valid, inalienable right granted to us by our Creator, not some anti-freedom bureaucrat. That's not who gives us this right. So this right here is an oldie but a goodie from Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, the author of this bill.
I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets, need to be licensed and do not need to be on the street.
I told you she does not know what she's talking about, and I also told you it's a classic. An AR-15 is not heavy. In fact, it only weighs about 6.5 pounds. That's just a tad more than a 2-liter bottle of soda. And 50 caliber bullets? AR-15s don't take 50 caliber bullets. These Marine sniper rifles do. All of us who use ARs to hunt, for sport, for self-defense use 223 ammo. And just to prove Sheila Jackson Lee is wrong, a totally uninformed rube when it comes to guns, and that's who's writing the legislation, by the way, you couldn't do this with an AR if it took 50 caliber ammo and weighed as heavy as 10 boxes.
I'm going to fire this weapon off the tip of my nose. Not broken, not bleeding, not bruised. Thank you for your time.
Oh, it's not. And I have used that example many times to prove the point that it is not this violent, hurtful, devastating gun, unless you're using it for self-defense or to hunt, of course. So Sheila Jackson Lee is proven right there to be devious in her assessment of AR-15s.
So Sheila Jackson just straight up lied. The point that Grant's trying to make here is that these AR-15s, they're not as heavy as 10 boxes. They don't have caliber bullets, a .5 caliber bullets. She just straight up lied, talking about a gun and a bullet that it doesn't even have to do with the topic or threat that she's referring to. So these Democrats just keep talking about the dangers and the safety, the reasons why we shouldn't be owning these types of weapons, but they don't even know what weapons they're even talking about, because she clearly had no idea how light this type of weapon was. And we just saw an example of the guy shooting the gun with the butt back to his nose and how harmless it was. Let's take a look at what the American people have to say about the insanity of the H.R. 127 bill and how outraged they are over the fact that this bill is a violation of our Second Amendment right. Stephen says they are trying to get us, the American people, to stand up and fight so they can institute martial law. Is this a trick? Is this is there a hidden agenda here that we don't know about? Are they trying to antagonize us? Are they pushing us beyond the brinks? Are they trying to create an uproar just to institute martial law, as Stephen said? After all, look at what they're doing with COVID. They're locking us down. Our children aren't in school. Parents are at breaking point. It's not going to take much to push us over the edge. Is this the nail in the coffin the government wants for us to uprise? Who knows? It's a good point, though. It's a great point. Heather says, do they really think that if they take all of the legal gun owners' guns, that people who die, are injured, or victims of crimes committed with the use of guns will stop? That's a good point. Do they really think that if they take all these guns away, that crime's going to stop? Because I'll tell you right now, I've lived in countries where they're not allowed to use guns. And gun violence, for people who want guns, people want to use guns, criminals, gangs, they will use guns. They will find guns. They'll just purchase them on the black market. They'll purchase them illegally. It's not like crime's going to disappear because guns go away. We've seen it. It may reduce the situation, yes, but if somebody wants to go shoot up an office park because they have issues and that's how they feel like going out, they're going to do it. These are the extremists that we need to worry about. Not my friends up in North Country who like to hunt. Not my neighbors who want to defend themselves. These are not the people that we have to worry about. The people that we have to worry about are the people who are going to break the law anyway, whether guns are here or not. So it's a great point. The exact opposite will happen, Heather says. Democrats are so delusional. What planet do they live on? It's a great point. Clint says that nutbag from Texas has tried the same thing every year. That's good to know. It's good to know that she's tried and failed many times. It's a constitutional right to bear arms. If they keep pushing, they're going to be reminded of what it means. They act like the criminals are going to abide by it because laws have worked so great for them already. And again, we keep referring back to criminals. What's your real intent here? What is the real intent? To limit the types of weapons that we're allowed to defend ourselves with. What's the real intent? To reduce crime? If it's to reduce crime, is it really going to work? Is it going to really work taking our weapons away from all of us to reduce crime from criminals who don't follow the law in the first place? It's not like all of a sudden they're going to wake up one day and be like, hey, wait a second, we can't kill people anymore because we're not allowed to own guns. We got to register those guns and it costs $800 a gun now. So we don't have that kind of money, so we're just going to have to stop committing crimes. As if. Of course they're not going to follow the rules. They never have in the first place. So again, the only thing that bills like this do is hurt innocent, law-abiding citizens. Those are the only people who are going to actually get hurt from such an outrageous bill. They seem... Anthony says, they seem even harsher than the laws we have in Australia. But America does need some regulation, but cooling off periods and background checks aren't as bad as you would think. completely agree here. I am 100% on board with cooling off periods, background checks. We don't want people buying guns who are in rage, buying these guns impulsively because they want to go kill somebody. So absolutely, I think a cooling down period's great. I think background checks are great. And I do think psychological evaluations are good for people who already have previous history. If you don't have a previous history mentally, I don't think that anybody needs to be interrogating you like that. So I do agree that we should have cooling off periods. We should have background checks. We do need to have some sort of level of safety involved here. I even agree in some sort of course, a safety course. 24-hour course is a bit extensive. Like I said earlier in the show, I have my private pilot's license, and I only needed 40 hours to legally get my pilot's license. So we're now suggesting that people who want to own a weapon need more than half the hours needed for me to fly a plane. Doesn't make sense. Renee says, if Democrats want to turn in their own guns, go right ahead. But us Republicans will keep our guns. See how that works out for you guys? See how that works out for the Democrats? And that first criminal that walks through your door and tries to rob you at gunpoint, or worse, maybe you can ask him if he went through psychological testing before he pulls the trigger, of course. What's going to happen when criminals come after you and you don't have guns? And this is what we said in the beginning of the show. The wealthy are going to be able to own guns because they're going to have no problem paying their tax. The wealthy, the middle class, are going to be able to defend themselves, but the poor no longer are. It is completely unfair. It's inhumane, to be exact. It's an inhumane act to now limit or restrict who gets to defend themselves. And that's exactly what we're doing here with these $800 registration fees per gun. No, we don't need an AR-15 to shoot a deer. We need an AR-15 to overtake a tyrant government. We always have, and we always will. Pat says, if you listen to the few works Biden said in his basement, you would have heard all of this. If he gets his way, it will either change this country forever or create a civil war. It's an interesting point. Everybody's at breaking point right now. Everybody's on edge. America is on the brinks of collapse, both financially, mentally, physically. We cannot take another ounce of insanity, and this certainly would do it. If you want to start a civil war in America, start taking away people's guns. Watch how quickly everybody starts going after each other. It's a great point, Pat. I agree 100%. Mark says, I saw how you treated Mike Lindell. If you cannot even speak to my pillow rights, why should I care where you stand on my A2 rights? If you can't be trusted with the small things, how can you be trusted with the big things? I'm out. Linda Hines says, that is why they are putting fences up in Washington. They know there will be an uprising if they try to take people's guns. They need a place to run to. I said that earlier. What are they so afraid of, the Democrats? Why are they trying so badly to reduce our weapons? What is the point of all of this? Why is it that every time a Democratic president is in charge, that their number one focus is to constantly go after our guns? It happens every single time. The scariest part about all this, and I'm going to play you another clip right here. We're going to listen to Grant Stinchfield for Newsmax discuss the real reason why our government wants to take away our guns. No, it doesn't have to do with safety. It does have to do with control. And these laws, this bill, is nothing more than a prelude to confiscation. And Grant's going to prove it right now. Let's have a listen.
About making good people into criminals. All of it is a prelude to confiscation. The former Soviet Union did it. On December 10th, 1918, It turned to the most proven form of suppression, gun confiscation. Failure to comply led to criminal prosecution and, of course, imprisonment in the Soviet Union. In 1938, Hitler signed the, quote, Gun Control Act that disarmed the Jews and prohibited Jews from working in the firearms industry. We all know how that one worked out. And in 1959, Fidel Castro took advantage of the very same gun registration lists now pushed by Biden's Democrats. Castro went house to house to disarm people. He famously declared this during that time: weapons. For what? To fight against whom, he said. Against the revolutionary government that has the support of the people? Well, if you have the support of the people, you don't need to take away guns. What happened in those countries? And more recently, what happened in countries like Venezuela and South Africa? They're run by dictators. It is frightening in the similarities to what is inside this bill being pushed today through Congress. This is the time when all of our voices matter. Unify around this issue. Whether you're a gun owner or not, this affects you, because the one secret the Democrats in Washington don't want you to know is that there are plenty of Democrats that own guns too, and more of them are buying them every day.
The perfect way for them to end their episode, and I'll put a link to the whole show below in the comments. But he's right. Look at 1938, Hitler, gun control. He took away all the guns from the Jews. Look how that ended up. Fidel Castro in 1959 went around door to door, taking away all the guns. And Fidel Castro said, why do you need guns? If we have the support of the people, we have the support of the people. You don't need guns. We're all on the same team. Look how that ended up. It doesn't matter why we want to possess firearms. I don't have to explain to anybody why or what type of gun I should choose to defend myself with. The Second Amendment says we have the right to bear arms. It doesn't come with any contingencies. It's that simple. It's not down to us to interpret it. And he's right. Whether you're a gun owner or not, this isn't about guns. This is about our constitutional rights. It always has been. And right now, they are getting stomped on. They are getting annihilated and destroyed right in front of our face. Every day this coronavirus situation goes on, every month that it goes on. Look, we're almost a year into it. We're still locked down. When is enough enough? So I'd rather talk about this situation right now and make sure it never stands a chance of getting it passed, rather than it getting brushed under the rug and they sneak it through, and then all of a sudden we wake up one day thinking, wait, what the hell just happened? By then, it's too late. Let's go back to the keyboard warrior cam and see what a few of the American people have to say about the insanity of this new bill and how it is a direct impediment of our Second Amendment rights. Scott says, let me see. 7 million first-time gun owners in the last year. That might not agree with your plan. Good luck with that. Again, there's a reason. There's a big reason gun sales are at an all-time high. There's a reason that ammunition is 3 times the normal price, because they can't keep up. Gun manufacturers are having the best year of their career. The American people want their guns. 7 million first-time gun owners in the last year. It's got to tell you something. That is not the support the government thinks they have. The fact that so many people are this concerned. It makes you think, were they really elected by the people to be in the position they are in? And maybe it's time a lot of them go. Renato says taking guns away only opens the doors for increased criminal activity. The fact that we have the right to have a gun at home makes the bad guys not want to go into a home while there might be someone home. Can you imagine how much more crime there would be if they knew, these criminals knew, how defenseless we'd be at home without guns. Crime would go through the roof if they knew that 9 out of 10 Americans didn't have a weapon. It's a chance they would take. We would see homicide go up, murders, rapes, robberies. Tyann says, so this is what some people voted for. Biden is not for the American people. He wants to take away free speech. And now, your right to bear arms. Wonder what he wants to take away next. It's a phenomenal comment. It's exactly what we've been saying the entire show. Our rights, our constitutional rights are in jeopardy. They are constantly challenging our constitutional rights. In the first place, I don't know who they think they are, that they even are able to do or allowed to do this in the first place. They've seemed to forgot that they work for we the people, not the other way around. We voted these people in. They owe it to us to protect us. Taking away our guns or making it much harder to own guns is not keeping the American people protected. With all the situation, with all the issues we have in the world today, coronavirus pandemic, illegal immigration, poverty, veterans literally starving to death on the streets, out of all the broken issues, unemployment at an all-time high, they want to focus on guns. None of it makes sense to me. So we'll continue to put our foot down. We'll make sure that we fight the good fight. We're not going to let them take our guns. No way. And we really hope some of our Republican leaders grow a pair and fight that good fight with us so we're not completely on our own. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I always love these sessions. Today we're speaking gun rights here at You Made It Political with yours truly, Matt Clark. Listen, like the video, share it, let people know about the show. It only helps us grow and keep those sneaky liberals in check. After all, this is what the show is all about, calling out the hypocrisy of the left. Thank you so much. You guys have a great rest of the day. We'll see you here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Good night.
Thanks for listening to You Made It Political with Matt Clark. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show. Or leave us a review on iTunes. And if you like our show or want to know more, check out YouMadeItPolitical.com.